Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Southern Woods and Waters. I hope y'all are all home having a great evening together with family and friends. Got a really fun show coming up for you guys tonight. We're going to be talking about fishing, but not only that, we're going to be talking about a little bit different species that some of you guys might not hear about a lot, and we get a lot of questions when we talk about them as to, well, what is that? You know, what kind of fish is that? And then some of you know exactly what they are, and you get after them every year. And what we're talking about is shellcrackers, and that's also a red-eared sunfish. And I've got a couple of guys in here with us tonight that know a lot about them and how to catch them, and we're going to be talking about that, and also taking y'all along on a great trip out to Old Hickory Lake, where Dayton Blair went out there and had a great day with our buddy Richard, and you guys went out there and did well. And also we're joined tonight by our buddy Terry Peoples. So always great to have Terry in the house. And Terry, do you ever give the crappie a break long enough to really go after the shellcrackers, or do you just catch them on accident when you're crappie fishing, like you do catfish?
I try to catch them in between changing rules.
Catch them in between there. Now, last time Terry and I, we went out this past weekend, did some crappie fishing, shellcracker, whatever, but he turned it into a catfishing trip over there with a black and blue jig. They were eating up a black and blue jig up there in the creek.
Multi-species trip.
It was a multi-species trip. One of those jerk trips, as you used to call it, just, you know, waiting on a jerk from something, didn't care what it was. But what we're talking about tonight in particular, Dayton, is shellcrackers. And it's something that you get after them every spring. I mean, obviously it's like anything. You can catch them year-round, but the spring's a special time for them. And we're kind of in the tail end of it now. There's still a little bit, a little bit of it going on, but these fish, they're kind of like a brim, bluegill, type style fish, but some of them are as big and bigger than crappie.
Yeah, they've come a long way. They're absolutely marvelous to eat.
They are.
And they have really gotten big. I mean, huge.
Well, and we got a picture coming up here in a little while tonight. I won't give the numbers on it and spoil the picture, but some of them are getting 10, 11, 12 inches.
Big.
I mean, again, they're like a big size crappie.
And that's why I always say 8-pound test line. People talk about 4 and this and that. You need 8, because they get around them logs. You'll see some on the video, and man, they'll wrap you up like anything else.
So you're having to pull them up out of that.
I mean, if you listen, you'll hear them pulling, drag, and all. I mean, they really fight. It's a great time of the year to catch fish fast and active, to take family members, kids, anybody. And that's the best part. Because
sometimes you get in the right spot, they'll almost be fighting over that jig or that worm or whatever you're using down there. Kind of like when Terry and I was on, at the end of March and stuff like that with the crappie. That's kind of how those shellcrackers get over these last few weeks. But now you were targeting them on tonight's show, in particular Old Hickory. But Old Hickory's not the only place they are. I mean, you can find them in any of the lakes around here. Cordell's got them, Percy Priest, Center Hill. I mean, your creeks,
backwater.
They're a lot of fun to catch, because like Dayton said, when you get into them, I mean, you can really get into them, but they're tight to that brush. So similar to a crappie in that aspect, and you'll see a little bit of this in the video and Dayton talking about it, but if you threw 3 feet short of where they were, then
they're not there. They're not there.
And at one point, Deacon's throwing, and you called it. You said, well, whoever just landed right there, they're fixing to catch it. Boom. As soon as you said that, but it literally, those few feet difference, you had to be in the spot.
Well, here's the deal. Here's how I go about it. When you're finding big schools like that, you're only allowed 20 fish per person.
Yeah.
Instead of just pounding that spot to get 20 out of there, we'll do 5 or 6 here, 7, 8, go to the next spot and get 8 or 10 and go to the next spot. You know what I mean? We try not to just absolutely just catch them all out of there. But there's plenty of them. There's so many bluegill and shellcracker in that lake, it's unbelievable.
That's the thing and you're going to see a few bluegill caught tonight, of course, but there's no telling how many bluegill were caught while filming the shellcracker show, because they're in there together. And some big bluegill, some nice ones.
And the shellcracker will spawn out a little deeper. The ones I fish for most of the time are in 12 inches to 18 inches, 24 inches of water. It's most important to have your sunglasses. It's a good pair of polarized glasses, because that's the whole ticket. I mean, you can go down a bank and look, even open banks that I fished that aren't log jams or backwater, once you start seeing the color of a change under the water, you know that that's a school of fish there.
Yeah, right.
Compared to a spot of grass or rocks under the water, it's just a turquoise color. And you throw in there and you catch them, you're like, man, that is really them. And then after that, you're just on the trolling motor, just
and then
looking.
You start learning what to look for.
And you start learning what to look for.
And
but we've been doing it so long,
you kind of know where to start.
Right.
But you're still looking for them.
Absolutely.
You're still spotting these fish. I mean, a lot of this, you're seeing them before you're throwing into them.
And like this year, milfoils, man, 3 or 4 of my places, you couldn't even really get to where they were, even if they were there, because the milfoil's so thick and done covered it up, which is a good thing.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
you
they
just
had plenty
means you
of
just
cover.
got to look more and move more.
Yeah, now you're typically using live bait for them. That's not all you use, but you do use a night crawler. I like to use crickets actually for them a lot. But Terry, you know, you're a jig man. You like to use jigs just about no matter what you're after. But so what do you just go down a little bit smaller size, go down in jig size, you know, jig head, maybe do a 62nd or?
I do, but at the same time, like if I run up on, if I get into them real heavy, they knock a cricket off too quick for me. So one of my tricks is using bacon.
Okay.
So you'll cut that bacon in them small strips, take and freeze half the pack, that way it won't ruin till the next time you can go. But you'll catch 10, 12 fish off that one little piece of bacon on there.
And that's how he does with those worms, you know. You can keep them, you can keep going on the same thing.
And a buddy of mine taught me this. You take those worms when you get to the boat ramp, pour the dirt out, and wash the whole box out, and wash the worms completely, and just put 2 cubes of ice in there.
Yeah.
And then you have no dirt, and that ice keeps them real lively. Because you cannot leave them out on the deck of the boat.
And Mike Adams, that just answered your question. I know you're watching tonight. I already got a call today from Mike. Now all our guys, they get to see these shows ahead of time. We send them out to the crew. But he's already asked, well, Dayton's going to tell me how you clean worms. You know, you never got to that, but you just hit on it. So you literally take those worms and you clean them.
Get them out of the box and wash that box out just clean as a pin where there's no dirt at all. Take and drop 2 cubes of ice in it and clean your worms off with water and drop them in there.
They're good to go.
I mean, they're absolutely active, but man, that heat kills them quick because this year it got hotter quicker. That's why the shellcracker come up sooner. Usually they're more of a May 18th to June the 1st, the heavy spawn. This year it was more, man, May the 10th, May the 15th.
Yeah.
They were really after it. They're still up a little bit.
They are, but again, it was a little early because they don't have calendars. They know temperatures and water ranges, and when it gets right, it gets right, man.
And the majority of mine, I was catching mine in 6 to 8 foot of water.
Right.
I never made it to 2, 3 foot of water like Dayton was catching. I never just made it to it. And I was fishing for crappie, and all of a sudden, I started getting them sinking hook, them sinking sets, and I was like, they're here. They ain't gonna make it all the way to the bank.
Once you find them, you got them. That's right. Well, guys, we're getting ready to go over right now and do this week's wild game forecast. This week's wild game forecast is being sponsored by our friends over at Wilson Bank and Trust. You guys can stop in at one of 29 Middle Tennessee locations. Let them take care of all your banking and financial needs, and be sure to tell them thank you for everything that they do for us right here at the show. All right, guys. Well, this weekend, it looks like temperatures mostly in the 80s, but one thing I noticed, Dayton, and I want to hit on just a little bit, is Saturday, the wind is coming out of the east. Both mornings, it's going to be high 50s, low 60s. Sunday, our wind's going to be coming a little out of the east, changing, though, out of the north. You think that's going to have any more effect on them than the temperature itself?
Man, the front's always this time of year to me. I don't care if you're bass fishing, whatever you're doing, it's based on that front. Like the last 4 days, it's been 95 degrees. You go to Priest early in the morning, throw a top water, you're not getting any bites. But this morning and yesterday morning, you throw up on the bank, there's 2 or 3 pounders everywhere. It's just the cloud cover and the whole change of the barometric pressure. The sun ain't beating everything in the head. So that's why people talk about fishing the drops for bass. And they're depending on that sunshine to get up and force them fish out into those creek channels, just like crappie do in the summer. You know what I mean? So that's what they depend on. But if that sun doesn't come out and beam down, well, them fish are less likely to go ahead and just funnel in there. It may hold a few over here, maybe some stay in the grass, maybe a few over here on a little rock pile. This dock may have a few more than normal. you know.
Yeah,
but that's everything.
Yeah, and
that is everything.
More active
that's
on
right.
that front too.
That's right.
They're feeding just
and
like
you know,
a
on the
deer or
back,
something.
they're less active feeding. I mean, they're still biting, but the second you're over there and you can see the sun and that line, you can just go ahead and put it up. You can go, it's
Head
over.
on in. Well, that's great, man. Well, we want to remind y'all to follow us on Facebook. Keep up with you there. We'll let y'all know what we're doing as we're going out in the field and doing the things. And also, y'all can share your own photos and videos with us there as well. We're going to get ready to take a quick break. We'll be right back with this week's Pictures of the Week and some more Southern Woods and Waters.